Welcome to Bedtime Story Time. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and get ready for a cozy adventure. In a quiet valley where the grass was always green and the flowers swayed like music, there lived a fluffy little chick named Chickpea. She had yellow feathers that shone in the sunlight and tiny feet that pitter-pattered when she walked. Chickpea loved watching butterflies, pecking at sunflower seeds, and hopping through dandelions. Not far from her cozy nest, deep in a hollow of a giant old tree, lived a gentle gray rabbit named Thistle. His ears were long and soft like velvet, and his nose twitched whenever the wind brought a new scent. Thistle loved collecting leaves, munching on clover, and taking long naps under shady trees. The next day, they followed a trail of fluttering petals and stumbled upon a nest of baby mice crying for help. They fetched berries and leaves, building a soft shelter until the mother returned. The following morning, they chased fireflies across a grassy knoll and found an old compass buried under a pile of moss. With it, they decided to become explorers. By midweek, they followed the compass eastward. They stumbled upon an abandoned tree house and turned it into their secret clubhouse. Inside, they found old maps, which they patched with drawings of their discoveries. Next, they hiked through tall reeds and saved a frog who had fallen into a bottle. Chickpea tapped the glass while Thistle rolled it gently until the frog could leap out. On another adventure, they heard a faint whimper near the rocky ridge. A young squirrel had twisted its paw. Chickpea plucked herbs, and Thistle gently bandaged the injury with strips of bark. That night, they camped beneath a tree filled with glowing beetles, falling asleep under nature's lanterns. The following day, they decided to build a bridge of vines across the narrowest part of the stream. It took hours, but when they finished, other small animals began using it too. After lunch, they watched clouds again. One looked like a ship. So they gathered leaves, twigs, and bark and made a boat. They launched it into the stream and followed it along the bank. They crossed a stony path and found a bush covered in humming, glowing bugs. Chickpea touched one, and it left a shimmer on her feathers. The next morning, they climbed the hill with their map. They marked a spot where they'd seen a double rainbow the day before. That afternoon, they tried to dig a tunnel near their hideout, but accidentally disturbed a mole's home. They apologized by leaving nuts and roots nearby. Soon after, they discovered a music stone, a flat rock that made different sounds when tapped. They played rhythms, creating a melody they sang to the wind. One morning, mist blanketed the meadow. They wandered silently and stumbled upon a secret grove where dewdrops rang like bells when touched. They danced through it, creating music with each step. Days passed, each one filled with something new. They watched owlets learning to fly, followed a rainbow to its end, which turned out to be a blueberry patch, and climbed a rock tower just to see the sunset. They played with a family of ducklings and rolled in piles of autumn leaves. They crafted a kite from feathers, bark, and twine, launching it into the sky until it disappeared into the clouds. In winter, they made snow trails that looped into mazes. They slid down slopes on pieces of bark and made warm hideouts filled with pine needles. When spring returned, they helped a bee colony rebuild their hive using petals and sticky sap. That night, the bees glowed as they flew, forming patterns in the sky. They painted pebbles and left them along forest paths for other travelers to find. They called it the Kindness Trail. They once followed strange chirping and found a nest of birds caught in netting. They chewed and tugged the threads until the chicks were free. One evening, a baby deer wandered into their meadow. They guided it back toward the woods, avoiding fox tracks and leading it home by moonlight. They discovered a patch of flowers that changed color when touched, danced in a circle that echoed back their laughter, and spotted their reflections in the still water of a hidden pond. During a windy week, they built wind catchers from reeds and feathers, letting them whistle and spin across the meadow. They kept a journal made from bark pages tied with string, drawing every creature they helped, every trail they followed. They built a raft and set off across a wide lake, spotting turtles sunning themselves and dragonflies dancing above the water. When a storm came suddenly, they huddled under a leafy cover and waited, watching lightning paint the sky. One dawn, they found frost patterns etched into leaves like secret messages. They followed them and stumbled on a hidden glade where mushrooms glowed faintly blue. They helped a hedgehog roll down a hill and back into its cozy den, and once they pulled a stuck duckling from a muddy puddle using a stick like a fishing pole. They tried growing strawberries, planting seeds, and checking them each day. When tiny sprouts appeared, they jumped with joy. They met an old tortoise who couldn't find his way home. Thistle and Chickpea followed his slow steps until they reached a hollow log he recognized. Once, they found a field where wind made the grass wave like the sea. They lay there for hours, imagining ships made of clouds. They discovered a secret waterfall behind a thick wall of vines and bathed their feet in the sparkling pool below. One summer night, they built a nest of feathers and slept under stars so bright it felt like morning. They watched baby bats learning to fly, climbed an ivy-covered wall to rescue a stuck ladybug, and once found a buried bell that chimed softly even in silence. Every new sunrise led them somewhere new, through foggy woods, into fields of clover, over stony brooks, and into caves with glowing stones. They made necklaces from acorns, wind chimes from shells, and once carved their initials into a tree to mark their promise to be friends forever. On their longest journey, they followed the stars across a ridge and watched dawn break over a valley they'd never seen before. Chickpea and Thistle never stopped exploring, helping, dreaming, and sharing stories as close friends do. The valley was their home, the world their playground, and each other their favorite adventure.